right, hello everybody. I wanted to do a quick update on Van Project 2.0 over here, and again ask you guys out there for maybe some insights or questions. So just to recap everybody, I haven't started in earnest yet, but my next project is going to be this 1998 Chevrolet Express van, but it's a conversion van, and it's a pretty nice van, low miles, 105,000 miles. But long story short is I got it for a really good deal, but I knew it needed a transmission. The reverse wasn't working, and then there was some pretty significant drivability issues. It wasn't unclear if it was transmission related or something else, but long story short, I had the transmission rebuilt, and this van now is definitely drivable. Most of the significant drivability issues were resolved by getting that transmission rebuilt. So I got a temporary moving permit on the van, and I began driving it around just as an everyday driver, I guess you could say, just to make sure and see how things were going. Well, I can't make this up. I have a very bizarre set of problems that come up, and I'm assuming they're both related, but I'll tell you guys what they are, and we can try to follow this journey and see if we can resolve it. And I know a lot of you guys gave some great feedback last time, so some of you might have had this very specific problem. But anyways, transmission's rebuilt in the van. I've been driving it around. By and large, it's doing great, very forward drivable, no problems there. However, what I noticed is at initial startup, and it's not cold here, it's in the middle of the summer in Las Vegas, so it's warm, it's not a cold issue. Initial startup, van fires right up, and it drives really well. From everything I could see, no drivability issues. And say I went and ran an errand and then parked and shut it off and came out 10 minutes later, 50% of the time the van would have a hard time starting. I would call it like a lazy start. You'd turn it over and it would just kind of like and then sometimes it would stall out, sometimes it would run. I'd try to start it a couple times, and eventually I could get it running, and then it would drive normal, and then I might stop again and it would start right up. So it was just kind of this intermittent issue. I started doing a couple things. I'm trying to avoid just buying a bunch of parts, so I cleaned out the mass flow sensor. I did change the oil on it, and while I was down there, it sounded like the crankshaft position sensor is a common problem. That was relatively inexpensive, and they're super easy to replace, so I went ahead and just replaced that. Neither of those things resolved the issue. And then, and it was intermittent, so the van was still drivable, and from the best I could tell in all the regards, drove the way it should. And then I took a longer drive today, and I noticed that it popped a P0300 code, which my understanding is a pretty common code just generically for misfire, no specific cylinder or anything like that. Check engine, or the service engine light, came on for about 5 minutes, shut off. I immediately drove it to a parts store, and they put it on the scanner and said it was that code. But the check engine light went off, and I drove it around for another 50 or so miles, or maybe about 30 miles or so. Never came back on, never had a problem. And so I said, what the heck? Let me just go and get it smogged, because I have to get it registered here soon. And the guy plugged it in the computer. Now this is where I don't know the terminology, so if someone knows, please say. Gosh, I wish I could remember what the guy said. I can't. But basically, we all know this, right? If you unplug your battery from your car, you can't go get it smogged right away, because you need to drive, they say like 50 miles for the computer to learn. And I can't remember the terminology used, but what was happening was, even though I haven't unplugged the battery in this in a long time, when I went to go get it smogged, it showed an error that basically made it look as though I just had unplugged my battery. So it's a long story, and it was a very nice guy at the smog shop who was helping me. But long story short, what we figured out was that every time I shut the van off, it's like resetting the ECM, or the computer, for the van. and that's why it keeps popping those codes. So I don't know if the starting problem and the service engine misfire earlier today and the fact that the ECM seems to be resetting every time you shut off the van, I hope they're all related. I don't know if they are, but so I'll tell you guys, my next path in terms of trying to diagnose this, but this would be kind of like where, if any of you have had a very specific vehicle like this, I mean, this is such a specific series of problems that it feels like there's probably somebody out there who knows exactly what this is. But, let me know in the comments. But here's my next course of action is, as some of you had mentioned in the previous video, these particular vans are known for having some ground issues. And I come to learn by going through some forums and stuff that there is some corrosion issues with various connectors. And in fact, I found 2 specific instances where somebody had similar problems, and it was a corroded connector to the ECM of the vehicle. So once they cleaned it off, it resolved the problem. So I'm hoping it's a simple fix like that. But wanted to give you guys an update. And the project's still going to go. It's just my rule is I'm not going to get too hot and heavy with the cabinetry and stuff until I know that the van is mechanically 100% or pretty darn close. So but wanted to give you guys an update and tax a lot of you guys out there are really knowledgeable and very helpful. So thanks everyone. Hope you had a good Father's Day, and I hope you're all doing well. Thank you.